I have to do a Patreon shout out now. I'm going to apologize in advance for it for anyone that it is about to hurt. Trust me, there is a video on the other side of it. I thank everyone for sticking through it, but this is part of the Patreon. This means I am required to do this. Before we begin, thank you very much to Skibbity Rizzler Mega Gyat from Ohio with Family Guy funny moments over Subway Surfers gameplay for joining the Patreon campaign. I don't think okay, well, number one, I'm scared of how much of that I understand. But then there's just a lot of that I don't think I'm just like out of touch. I think it's literal gibberish. And scary enough, it's not the first half of it. But yes, thank you very much. Can you believe I say this stuff for as little as $1 a month? I don't know. I don't get it either, but yes, it happens. Let's have an actual video now, shall we? Now that we've gotten that out of the way. So Transformers 1 is about to hit streaming platforms on Paramount Plus, and it's kind of shocking that it's gone that far already. Like, it feels like I was just in the theaters watching this. Like, it feels like it wasn't even that long ago I was actually like watching it on a big screen. And here I'm going to be able to just watch it with my normal Paramount Plus subscription. Like, it's weird. I don't like that it's gone this fast. But from what I've heard, it did pretty well on streaming platforms prior to this. If you bought it or rented it from, Amazon or wherever else, I heard it did well. So at least this will put more eyes on what is a very, very good Transformers movie. But now the question is it the best? Now that we've all had time to actually take it in, and actually, get to know the movie and like reflect on it. And now that like recency bias has kind of left most of us, now we can kind of fairly look at this and go, is this the best we've ever had? So we're just gonna overview the movies really quick, and then we're gonna have like a more complete, well, not more complete, but like a more precise examination of Transformers 1 and what makes it good and if it makes it the best. So let's get a few things out of the way first here. We're throwing out the Bay sequels completely. And we all know why. Because it's the same movie over and over and over again. There's a brand new MacGuffin. There's a way of writing Optimus Prime out of the movie so he doesn't just hit, so he just doesn't win the fight right away. So he can make a big heroic charge in the third act. Because we all saw the heroic charge in the 86 movie, and everyone has tried to recreate that in their own weird way. We get it. So the sequels, like, they start with Revenge of the Fallen, which I still think is the worst Transformers movie of them all, because it was written 2 weeks before a writer's strike. So Michael Bay is completely unfettered here. Like, all of his sophomoric humor is on overdrive. And after this movie, that just kind of became the thing. That just kind of became the type of humor you expect from these movies. So we're stuck with it from here on out. They got better once we got rid of Bay. It went away. That was good. But it wasn't even just that. It's just a lot of really poor writing decisions in that movie. A lot of Deus Ex. Oh yes, I absolutely believe that there just happened to be a naval ship that just happened to be carrying an experimental railgun that just happened to be close enough to Egypt to get a clean shot on Devastator, who he was standing on top of a pyramid with the curvature of the earth. I don't even know if that's technically possible. And we just happen to have a character who just happened to be able to get in direct contact with that ship and convince them to actually open fire. Yeah, that seems completely entirely plausible. Yeah. From there on, there's just a lot of tropes and bad writing in the movies that just kind of make it feel grungy and just like unpleasant to watch. And then eventually they get so long they're exhausting. Like Age of Extinction is exhausting. That movie could be 20-25 minutes shorter and it would be all the better for it. So yeah, and then we finish off with The Last Night, which is completely nonsensical. Contradicts the previous movies, throws a million random plot directions in there. Yeah, bad movie. So we're throwing all those out completely. Also, I know there's other things that technically count as Transformer movies. You're not clever for bringing them up. Don't. I've thought about it. This goes for Predacons Rising. This goes for the Beast Wars second movie. Those are technically not movies. This was like an extended episode OVA. The Predacons Rising was 3 episodes stitched together in order to make something that's close to movie length. No. I want proper theatrical releases worldwide. That's what I am looking for. Despite I think it being better than a lot of the Bayverse sequels, Rise of the Beast does not play into this discussion. Well, I do think it is watchable. I would much rather watch Rise of the Beasts again than I would any of the Bayverse prequels. Or Bayverse sequels. We got a lot of prequels now, too. Oh my god. Point being, I would rather watch this movie than I would any of Michael Bay's previous sequels. But it does still follow the exact same formula of those sequels, which is incredibly boring at this point, and I'm tired of seeing it. I'm so sick of MacGuffin hunting in Transformer movies. There's one reason why I liked 1 so much. There was a MacGuffin, but it was in the background. It wasn't like it was like a main goal of the storyline. It just happened to coexist and happened to coincide with what was going on. That was it. And that's fine. I will accept a MacGuffin in that way. And while I think Rise of the Beast is a decent movie, we know which ones we would count as the best. I'd still say the first Bayverse film is probably better. And I will acknowledge that part of that is just how cool it seemed as our first experience with live-action Transformers. Every time a vehicle transformed into a robot in that movie, it was treated like something special. It was like the animators showing off what they are capable of, and it looked spectacular. Like, it looked fantastic. When Blackout transforms and stomps the base, like, that's insane. The scene is incredible because it gets across this dread of, like, what if a Decepticon actually did attack? And it works out really, really well. And I think having a smaller cast works in that movie's favor as well. We didn't get in touch with a lot of the Decepticons. That will be a trend throughout the entirety of the live-action movies. But I think there is still a special place for it. I do still think it is a watchable movie. Considering they haven't gotten a lot of the annoying tropes into it yet. We are MacGuffin hunting technically in that movie because we're after the cube. But there isn't any weird tropes like, we're going to write out Optimus for most of the final fight. At least here he battled Bone Crusher and that's what kept him away. So he's doing something. Still, I guess they're still kind of they're kind of doing the same thing, aren't they? It's not as severe though. So yeah, I think it makes it as a consideration only for the fact that it doesn't have as many sins as its sequels would eventually have. But I still don't think it ranks among the best. No. If we want to go with the ones that people typically talk about being the best, then we have to start where it all started with the 86 movie. And there's still people who swear up and down this is the best Transformers movie. And you know what? If you're of that opinion, even if you're of the opinion that the 07 movie is the best movie, even if you're of the opinion that The Last Night is the best movie, I know there's someone out there. That's your opinion. That's what you enjoy. I'm not yucking your yums. We are disagreeing. I'm not saying you are wrong for enjoying it. You enjoy whatever you want. There's nothing wrong with that. On the other hand, let's look back at the 86 movie now. And the 86 movie does have a lot going for it. Especially for us old school fans who watched the original cartoon. Now, let's get this straight. I think the visuals are still incredible because it's some of the best animation studios at the time putting their effort into just about everything. There's animation errors, but the polish and the detail that's accomplished in this movie stands out incredibly. And I think there are scenes in this movie that you still have not seen topped. I really don't think I really don't think anything tops the spectacle of Unicron's first attack on Lithone. It's incredible. Like the detail in the animation, how ominous it is, how quickly Unicron can just devour an entire planet. You witness an apocalypse in the first 3 minutes of the movie. That's pretty intense. That's pretty intense. So yeah, visually, I think it's still striking. Obviously, the soundtrack is what a lot of people remember because it's one of the best 80s rock soundtracks you could ever ask for in a movie. It sounds incredible, and it makes the movie so much fun. And it works in the right ways. You know, when the Decepticons are attacking the Autobot shuttle and Instruments of Destruction are playing, it's hype. Oh my god, it's incredible. You know, when someone's making a charge with the touch, it's incredible. When Dare kicks in, it worked so well to make the movies and the scenes in the movie feel so big. And, it just adds so much personality to the movie that, yes, it's incredibly enjoyable to watch as a result. We will acknowledge it's not perfect. Anyone who had the original cartoon, anyone who grew up with the original cartoon, no matter what your age was, please join me as we reach to our metaphorical rose-tinted glasses, and we grab them by the rims and slowly remove them. Fold up the ends and then invisibly pocket them to protect them as we live and die by our rose-tinted glasses sometimes. And join me in realizing that this movie has massive flaws to it. Absolutely massive flaws to it. So, when I tried to watch this with a friend of mine, so for the 2007 movie, I went to see it with a friend of mine, a girl I was really way too into. But she went with me, she loved the movie, and she wanted to go see it 2 more times. Not the Transformer guy. No, the girl wanted to go see it 2 more times. So we saw it 3 times in the theater. It's the only movie I've ever seen 3 times in a movie theater. I tried to show her the 86 movie. She fell asleep. She didn't watch the entire movie until a friend of ours wanted to have his birthday at a theater that was doing the anniversary showing of the movie. And she watched through the whole thing and afterwards going, where was the plot? Because when you know the cartoon, we know the original cartoon so well, it's easy to pick up on the plot that's going on, but understand the 86 movie is very much an extension of the cartoon. So when you're looking at the plot of the movie, you realize there's a lot of stuff here that makes no sense or has no weight unless you know the first 2 seasons. When Prowl and Ironhide and everyone gets shot down in the Autobot shuttle, it carries no weight unless you were attached to them from watching the first 2 seasons of the series. And one of the first scenes is Optimus telling Energon, we don't have enough Energon cubes to power a full-scale assault. And you have someone in the audience going, what's an Energon cube? We take those things for granted because we're so, we live so much in this franchise that we just know these things. So to a common moviegoer who is completely uninitiated, none of this makes sense. None of this makes sense. They don't know who the characters are. They don't know why the gray and red guy just threw the leader out of the jet, out of the space shuttle. Don't know why the Matrix is important. Then again, we didn't either. If you were a kid who actually got to see this in a theater, I'm not old enough to have that experience. Don't worry. But if you were, you didn't know what the Matrix of leadership was either. They just kind of pulled that out of nowhere because we need a MacGuffin in the movie. Yeah, there's a lot of weird nonsensical stuff. So we as fans can still enjoy that and go, that's the most enjoyable movie, but acknowledge that as far as just being a movie goes, it does have massive flaws to it. And it's not something the uninitiated can't sit down and go, oh, I know what's going on here. So yeah, we acknowledge that. So let's just, but before we move on, I'll point out, it's entirely possible for this to be your favorite movie and not to be the best. You can fully acknowledge when another movie has a more cohesive story, better character growth, and is easier for a moviegoer to just sit down and watch in one sitting and understand everything that's going on. You get that, and you understand that. And it, it is possible. It is possible to acknowledge that there's a better movie, even though this one is your favorite. So don't think of it that way either. But that brings us to Bumblebee. Yes, this I believe is the best live-action Transformers movie. I will never forget my friend Minerva telling me that this is a horse girl movie. Because she's right. The horse is just a robot. But other than that, yep, it's pretty much the formula of a horse girl movie. You know what it doesn't have? It doesn't have a MacGuffin. It's already telling a different story. The fact that we have this connection between Bumblebee and Charlie, which I think is way better than Bumblebee and Sam ever was. I think it's better than Optimus and Cade. What all those live-action human pairings, like until we got to Mirage and Noah, I don't think anything came close to this. And I think this is still better than Mirage and Noah. This is still like the best. They both helped each other a lot when both of them needed it. It's a very uplifting story, and makes me sad that Charlie did not feature in Rise of the Beasts and to make that connective tissue, because yeah, I would have liked to have seen her come out of that, and I would have liked to see more of the character growth. Bumblebee in here is way more charming than he would be in later movies. I think they tried to lean too much into his sass and sarcasm, even through the mechanical bleeps and bloops. I still think his characterization comes across better in this movie. I believe him as a character. Also, Decepticons being deceptive. Oh my god, Shatter and Dropkick actually get a chance to show their characterization. None of the others get to do that. Benefit of only having 3 robots, really, in the movie. Yes, there's a Cybertron scene. Everyone loves the Cybertron scene. Yes, there's Blitzwing. He dies very quickly. But really, it is a 3-robot movie, and which is why you get to have so much time with Bumblebee to actually understand him, as a character. It's why we like Shatter and Dropkick, because they're just such a great duo. And Shatter herself is one of the most, one of the most effective villains the Transformer movies ever had. She has a plan. She is being deceptive. She had everyone fooled except John Cena. John Cena could see her. But no, she just makes for a fantastic villain. And again, it's a movie you can sit down and okay, the Cybertron scene's got a whole bunch of references that normal moviegoers aren't going to pick up on. But you get the urgency, you get, what's going on, and you actually understand, why they're doing this quick evac of the planet, etc. And that's the only real establishment you need. Everything else is down to basics, so you don't need to explain a whole lot. We're not going over Energon, we're not going over Allsparks or anything like that. It's just, this is going south, we need to escape, and Bumblebee ended up on Earth. And that's all you really need. So it works as a very clean movie. And if you know the live action movies, you get a pop out of seeing him as a Camaro at the end. If you know G1, it's great seeing him as a Beetle again. You have a GoBot reference in there somewhere from a deleted scene. If you're a fan, there's a ton of references for you, but it can still just serve as a nice movie for someone who doesn't know what a Transformer is. And that's why I think Transformers 1 works as well as it does. It is, again, a complete story. It does feature Energon as a plot point, but we actually properly explain Energon and why it's scarce. We have a really good villain in Sentinel Prime. We have ominous things to know that there's more to the universe, like the Quintessons, which are very obvious sequel bait, but I really think they should have touched on them again before the movie was done. That's maybe a bit of a flaw. But as to everything else, the movie does what it's supposed to do. I think it's very well portrayed. After a while, I forget that I'm listening to Scarlett Johansson and Chris Hemsworth especially. I just kind of accepted that as Orion Pax. And apparently he talked to Peter Cullen about how to deliver more of that Optimus gravitas as the movie got on and as Orion matured as a character. I like the evolution of D16. you can call it rushed, but what you're seeing in the movie are two best friends who have the exact same, trauma, happen to them, and they respond in very different ways. I was reminded of the phrase that, power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. But the same person who made that quote went on to extend that and correct himself to say, power doesn't corrupt, it reveals. D16 was always Megatron. He just never had the power to do what he wanted, so he kind of fell in line. Same with Optimus. He's always been this like optimistic character, but he never had the power to bring that optimism to others. That's what you saw in the movie. They both gained a position of leadership. They both gained a position of authority, and you saw how each of them handled that. And that's what didn't like corrupt or awaken them. They were always those people. And that's what the movie shows. And yeah, it's a really good way of delivering it, not to mention action scenes are good. Side characters are good. Again, lots of references, a whole lot of references. If you like your Transformers, I still need to watch through it again just to pick them all out. But yeah, like, I just think it's an extremely nice movie all around. Out of all these movies, yeah, like this is the one where there are flaws to it, but the fewest that I can pick out. And when I think about, like, if I want to show someone completely uninitiated to Transformers what this franchise is about and actually show them a movie I think they're going to enjoy, it probably is going to be Transformers 1. Whereas, here's the weird thing. If we're talking about a better Transformers experience, then yes, maybe I would say the 86 movie is the best. But if I'm talking like, what is the best movie? Then it would be down between Bumblebee and Transformers 1. And I'm not entirely sure where that, which I would prefer to show somebody else. Depends on what I know of them. But honestly, in my opinion, yeah, I honestly think we have the best Transformers movie now. Yes, you might be distracted by, you might be distracted by, like, the voice of casting, being familiar celebrities. You might be annoyed by B-127. I don't blame you. I do think that's like maybe the one flaw to the movie I would really point out is the fact that he's way over the top, and goes on maybe a little bit too long with some of those running jokes. That said, I will still take that rambling Bumblebee more than I would take the sophomoric humor of the Michael Bay movies. So I will accept it. I will accept that because everything else happening around it is so good. So yeah, I, in my humble reviewer opinion, would say that yes, Transformers 1 is probably the best Transformers movie we've gotten. Trying to speak as objectively as I can and trying to remove my nostalgia. It's just an extremely well-presented movie. And it doesn't take any previous knowledge to actually sit and enjoy it. Which, you know what? We've needed that for a long, long time. But as usual, this is the kind of debate that's going to make a lot of people upset. It's going to be a lot of divisive opinions in this one. Feel free to leave them in the comments below. Yeah. Everyone's going to have a different opinion. Try to respect them. They are not wrong. You just don't agree. There's a difference there. So keep that in mind. Feel free to discuss in the comment section below. And as always, I will see you next time.